A U.S. citizen has been released back to his family after he was arrested and charged in Florida for entering the state as an unauthorized alien. Juan Carlos Lopez-Gomez was born in Georgia and was traveling in Florida when the car he was in was stopped by State Highway Patrol. His first language is not English, and he was accused of being in the state illegally under a Florida law that is also temporarily being blocked by a judge. And while in custody, he was put on a detainer by ICE. A judge reportedly reviewed his birth certificate in court, and the charges against him were dropped. But deputies kept him in custody because of the ICE hold, despite being a proven U.S.-born citizen. Our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, here to break this down for you. How is he being able to be held on a detainer because he is a U.S. citizen?
Let me go ahead and start with this. I first want to thank Andrew Brightman for finding this story, our weather folks here at the station, because I first read this and I was like, what is happening? This is a U.S.-born citizen. He was born in Georgia, not the country, but the state. Has an identification that clearly identifies him as a resident of the state of Georgia. Yes, he doesn't speak English, but we don't have a national language, so that's not a requirement. Gets arrested and gets taken to court, and his family is there, and they're holding his birth certificate, waving it to the judge. The judge then takes the birth certificate and starts examining it like it's a $100 bill, like you're trying to see if this is counterfeit or not. At some point, she says, I've felt the texture, I've tested this document, and it appears to be authentic. And at that point, she dismissed the charge. What charge are we talking about? Well, Florida has now implemented a charge that makes it a misdemeanor if you enter the state illegally and become over 18. Well, you want to know the funny thing about this is that law is already on hold, so that law should have never even been a charge. The law that the state trooper held him on is not even effective right now.
So it was illegal even to hold him on that?
It was illegal to charge him with that because it was stayed in federal court. Stayed meaning paused. Even if they implement it, the governor may have signed it. If someone challenged it, which they did in this case, they entered a temporary restraining order. It's not a law. It's paused. So he was arrested on a law that's not even on the books. The judge recognized that and deported him. So you think, okay, this guy's going home. No, not at all. He's not going home. Why? Because there's a federal detainer. And this goes to the root of why the law was removed as well. The judge in that case said that the states have absolutely no control over something that Congress has appropriated for the federal government, specifically immigration. Great. So when the judge in this case on the state level says, I'm dismissing the charge, but there's still this ICE holder, she was 100% correct. Why? Because state courts have no jurisdiction. Just like they should have never charged him because there was no jurisdiction. This case is so many ways upside down. It shows you how people are trying to throw everything with immigration all in one bucket. The state of Florida has no business creating a law that touches or addresses immigration at all because it is in the purview of only the federal government. So when you now have created this misdemeanor charge, you don't even have authority to do that. So you've arrested someone unlawfully. You've held and detained them unlawfully. This is an absolute cluster, and I feel for him and his family.
Human rights, and you got to think about that he does have a birth certificate from the United States, so it's like the racial profiling of this, and it's going back to just because he didn't sound the way that everyone else, because he had a foreign language, and also he didn't look the
Let's even go further than this. This guy wasn't even driving the car. He was a passenger in the vehicle. They stopped the car with 3 other people in there. He's a passenger. At some point, he turns over his ID, enough to be able to say, hey, I am who I'm saying I am. I don't know the language, but here, this is me. They identified him, but the trooper said in his notes, I believe he has entered this country illegally. That belief was enough. That profiling was enough for him to be arrested and detained and to be held. That is a problem right there. That is what people are saying when they're looking at the issues that we have with immigration. While you have a number of courts that are addressing it and attempting to find a way that we can get to some resolution. But this is a major problem because there are a number of lawsuit issues that can be raised in situations like this. Specifically, the trooper. The judge is put in a bad situation. The county, that jurisdiction that's held him. I mean, they've opened up themselves to litigation across the board. Yeah. But now this family's not thinking about that. This family's just trying to get home. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to hold their son.
Is he in danger of being deported right now?
I don't know
how. Is he still an ICE detainer?
No, I mean, the ICE detainer's now been lifted and removed, and he's going to be gone. And I have to be clear. I see these a lot. I have clients that are here. They're charged with a state crime, and then there will be a federal detainer placed on them. So even if they bond out on a charge, they're not going anywhere because there's that federal detainer. That conversation typically happens when a person is charged with a crime, and they don't have to be convicted. They can be charged. ICE has now been notified, and they will notify the holding facility. In this case, it would be Mecklenburg County Jail. If they're there, Mecklenburg County will say, hey, you may have bonded out, but you got a detainer. You're not going anywhere. Typically, that's for folks who were charged with a crime. This guy wasn't charged because there was no probable cause to even charge him. They should have never even held him. I should have let him go. This was a problem on top of a problem, and it's only going to get worse.
Can you expect a civil lawsuit after this?
I mean, you would, but I think in these situations, and this is the unfortunate event with all of these types of things, it's normally the folks that don't have the means to do that. You're talking about the people that are already running from situations where they're either being persecuted in some other country or they're being, oppressed or, pushed out of marginalized right here in this country. And so you have a person that's felt like they sat in jail for 2 days, and now their family is saying, I shown you proof that I'm a U.S. citizen, and I got no recourse. I got no redress. How would I feel going and filing a lawsuit against the same government that held me for 2 days? That conversation is probably happening, and I can bet they're not going to end on saying, okay, let's go file. I recognize that the end result is let's not get in any more trouble. Let's make sure that we don't have any interactions with law enforcement. And all it does is stigmatize that situation, and it makes the divide between law enforcement and the people that much wider.
Yeah, I'm keeping lawyers busy. We have to leave it there right now. Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes.